Who is to blame for Redfall? Oh, everybody's going to be pointing fingers on this, dude. You know what I mean? So here's what it is. You've got Arkane, right? Ultimately, who's the one that's gonna be to blame for this? It's Arkane, you know, and Bethesda. Oh yeah, yeah. Fair. That meme is actually absolutely perfect for this because it would be Arkane and it would be Bethesda and it would be Xbox and they would all be pointing a finger at each other, right? Um, Here's what I'll say, man. I know a lot of people take this like stance of, well, ultimately the blame lies on Xbox because they're the parent company and da 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 da. Well, I'll give everybody something different to think about here, okay? Arkane actually falls under Bethesda first. And not only that, yes, Xbox owns Bethesda, so therefore, by proxy, Xbox owns Arkane as well, right? But um, if anybody has ever been, and I'll take this down to a bit of try to lessen the gravity of this a little bit and try to break this down to something maybe some more people can try and maybe attune with on more of a personal level. Anybody that's ever worked as like maybe a supervisor or a manager or anything like that. Um, think about how many different directions you're being pulled in all the time, right? And ultimately, you don't ever want to have to be a micromanager, yeah? Because that sucks. Do you have to be sometimes? Yes. But you don't ever want to be a micromanager unless you're forced to be a micromanager. Yeah. And I think that that's the position that Xbox and Microsoft takes quite often on these companies that they are on top of. And to be fair, Arkane, um, maybe a little bit, Tenwin. I'm still pretty sick, dude. So we'll see how much I can get done, man. Um, what's up, buddy? Um, well, yeah, I mean that doesn't really fit into what I'm saying here, you know. And I mean, I'm just trying to give people a view of like assimilate this in a way, right? To give them something to take a look at here. So yeah, I mean, obviously working under a micromanager's actual balls. Yeah, I agree with that, but I don't want to take away from what I'm trying to get at here. Um, so whenever you're in this situation, you have a huge company like Microsoft and Xbox, and they've got a ton of other companies underneath them, right? And you have a company like Arkane that has traditionally been pretty good at what they do. They haven't necessarily given you a reason to mess with them, to have to sit there and hover over their shoulder and go, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you doing this right? Are you doing this right? What are you show me? Show what are you doing? What let's okay, you need to do this. You need to micromanage them. Yeah. And to be fair again, Bethesda is the one that's on top of them also. So you've got another separation of levels there. Yeah. So I'm sure that to an extent, Xbox is having executive level people talk to Bethesda executive level people and then talk to, who are conveying information from their Arkane people about what's going on and, things like that, right? So, now, what I will say is that I do think that Xbox was banking pretty big on this. Obviously, there was a lot of marketing put into it. So, to be fair, maybe they should have had a bigger eye on what was going on with this game to ensure that it wasn't going to be a hot mess. But anytime, I think the worst thing a company can do is acquire another company that's already good at what they do and start trying to mess with that process. If you are, I mean, obviously the world we live in is acquire and move up, right? Acquire and take all that, get bigger, and you know, that's what all these companies do. So if you're acquiring companies, you're acquiring them because they're good at what they do. But I don't think that you necessarily should be messing with their process unless they give you a reason to question that process. And now, absolutely, Arkane has. Arkane failed big time. And so now, I absolutely feel like you're going to have Bethesda all over Arkane, and you're going to have Xbox all over Bethesda and Arkane because of this. You know what I mean? But before this, I don't think that there was a whole lot of reason that Xbox should have been getting their hands dirty with Arkane's process, because Arkane had done a pretty good job before this with a lot of their titles. So, I mean, you know, everybody's going to be pointing fingers and going, well, it was there. And ultimately, I mean, who's got the biggest loss out of all on this? It's Xbox, right? So, you know, a lot of people are going to go, well, they're the ones that are going to lose out the most. They're the ones that should probably be taking most of the blame, you know, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I also don't think it's fair for people to not look at the other side of it and go, you know, they didn't have a reason to be messing with Arkane's process necessarily. Should they have been paying attention maybe a little bit more to exactly what this product was going to be? Yeah, probably so. Yeah, I would say so. But it's just kind of, it's one of those things where quite often you'll see a lot where it's just like with Bungie, you know, and Bungie's the kind of company that doesn't really, you know, they're very outspoken, which is not something Sony necessarily gravitates towards with companies they want to own and stuff like that. But, you know, Sony saw something very, very good in what Bungie does, and it was worth having a company like that. And I think until Bungie proves that they're not able to do things on their own anymore, Sony's not really going to get involved. And I think that's the way it should be. I don't think that you buy companies that are good at what they're doing and you mess with that process. I don't think you run the risk of breaking something that's not broken. You know what I mean? And I think that's partially what was the case here. There wasn't any point in Xbox trying to fix something that wasn't already broken. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where Arkane was. They hadn't really come out with anything terrible. They hadn't done anything bad. They'd come out with pretty good stuff till now. It's going to be a different story moving forward. But everybody's going to be pointing fingers at each other, no doubt about it.